3 pounds and 3 ounces, about to lose his wife and family and his house, but he's in here professional fishing. The Bassmaster TV show, this may well be the largest bass we weighed in all year.
Oh, there. Coming. Feed it to him.
I'm on the vitamin pattern, 1 a day. 1 a day pattern, all right.
Now, what I'm contracting out to do is to come down here and pull the plug on this lake and turn it into an 18-hole golf course.
More. 3 more.
West Point Lake. This small impoundment on the Georgia-Alabama border is known for great big bass. In fact, there are stories here of anglers catching 75 pounds of bass in a single day's fishing. The bass are here, and they can be tough to catch, however, especially when the weather's wrong and the water is not right. But these bassers are pros, and you can bet they'll figure out some productive pattern as they always do. Stay tuned as these Bassmasters make their first cast in the Georgia Invitational. I'm Ray Scott. The Bassmasters will be right back.
West Point Lake and the $140,000 BASS Georgia Invitational. Third stop on the 1988 Bassmaster Tournament Trail, leading to the World Championship of Professional Bass Angling. Bassmasters Classic 18. Prior to the start of the practice round 3 days ago, anticipation was high. It was thought that 25-pound strings would be common during the competition days, that it would take 60 to 65 pounds of bass to win this tournament. But that was before the practice. For the past 3 days, these Bassmasters have had it far from easy. They've caught bass, but not that many that would meet the 16-inch minimum size limit on this lake. However, these pros know there's always a winner, and finding a school of the 5 to 7 pound bass for which this lake is known could put them in the winner's circle in a hurry. West Point is not a large impoundment, only 27,000 acres at full pool. It's less now since the winter drawdown started. The lake is full of timbered humps and ridges and drop-offs, old roadbeds and ditches. While some of the shoreline looks inviting, the anglers who know this lake opt to fish offshore structure. In fact, it's estimated 90% of the bass angling here is done in open water, fishing deep water structure like here. But finding the bass is the first step. And for many of these Bassmasters today, help, big help, is needed.
More. Need 3 more.
But sometimes that help just isn't enough.
Not quite.
At weigh-in time, the ranks of anglers waiting to weigh in their catch are small. In fact, with that 16-inch size limit, more will not weigh in than will. But someone always catches bass.
Paul Elias is the white with a ticket in his mouth, hiding part of his big, ugly black beard. There's a whole beard. He got a bag full of fish, my friend. Former classic winner. Great fisherman from the state of Mississippi. 5 bass out of the limit of 12 or 7 he could have brought in. And the weight today for Paul Elias, which puts him in the lead, I believe, 12 pounds, 7 ounces. A nice hand for Paul Elias.
Thank you, Ray.
Paul, that's a remarkable catch on the conditions. It's tough as you know out there. And did you have any degree of confidence that you would have caught 5 bass today under these circumstances?
Yeah, Ray, I thought I was going to catch 7 in about an hour. But they just were slow, and I was very unfortunate. I had a lot of 15 and 7/8 fish. You know, I'm sure everybody else did too, but I'll just get back out there and keep pecking at them. I'll get me 7 tomorrow.
If you do that, you'll win this tournament.
Well, that's what I'm planning on doing.
And one angler who's always to be reckoned with, Ricky Clunn.
Here he comes in from Montgomery, Texas with 5 bass. And folks, remember, the weight, the leader that has today, 12 pounds and how much? 7 ounces. All right, 12.7 is the lead. 5 bass for Rick Clunn.
11-10.
11 pounds, 10 ounces, which puts you 11 ounces, more or less, 10 to 11 ounces behind the lead. Would you give me a second? I was curious, Rick Klein, this is the toughest conditions in the world. I've heard you say on numerous occasions that the real test of the bass was when the fishing was down.
Well, I think mechanically we're all pretty close fishing-wise. I think these tournaments test you mentally more than anything else. And there's no doubt that the tough tournaments, I think, you know, it's easy to go out there and stay enthusiastic if you get a strike that first hour, but if you don't get one the first 5 hours, and then you can still stay enthusiastic those last 3, then to me it's usually the guys that are going to end up doing well in this type of tournament.
That's a good analogy. Folks, let's give a nice hand. Rick Klein, one of the legends in this fishing game of ours called professional bass fishing.
And never count out this Georgia angler.
Mr. Tommy Mann Jr. from Georgia. Folks, 5 bass for Tom Mann Jr., hailing from over near Sugar Hill in Atlanta. We got 5 beautiful fish for Mr. Tom Mann Jr. Watch the scales carefully, people. We have a man moved in strong second place. It is a lead, 18 pounds and 1 ounce for Tom Mann Jr. We want to weigh. Let's take it. No, there's no remarkably big fish, but let's take out the 2 biggest. These are 5 bass, people, that are almost identical in size. Mac, let's hold them all up. You hold 2, and I'll hold this one, and you hold that one, and y'all hold the other 2, and let's take a look. Can we hold it? Can you hold one more? Let's hold up where all these people can see them now. Folks, now this is what you call consistency. There are 5 bass out of the 7 bass limit that weigh 18 pounds? 18 pounds and 1 ounce. Let's give them a nice hand. I got to ask a couple of questions. Tom Mann, you done your share of bass fishing, and that is a remarkable catch of consistently fine fish. Did you catch any that were not keepers, not 16 inches?
No, Ray, I was real lucky today. I got 5 bites, landed 5 fish, and, you know, just lucky that they all kept. I told my partner I couldn't believe, you know, you're lucky to get 5 bites to start with, and then get 5 bites that kept, you know. Just unbelievable, you know.
Was you bumping the hump, as we had expressed earlier, with you hitting the high spots?
Yeah, hitting the high spot.
Yeah, with the jig.
Right.
All right.
Stay tuned as these Bassmasters continue to probe the deep water of West Point Lake for the lunker load. The Bassmasters will be right back.
Thank you, little George. Thank you.
Day 2 of the Georgia Invitational, and the weather's forecast to be good, clear and cool. But while it may be nice for the anglers, it's not helping their catching. The bass are just not biting. It's that simple. Some feel it's because of a cold front that just came through. Other reasons advanced are that the lake's in the fall turnover period, and that the bass are also turned off because the current caused by power generation is non-existent. In fact, the only water being released through the dam each day doesn't occur until around 7 p.m., and competition each day is over at 3:30 p.m.
Got to get bigger than that.
Other fishermen feel the moon phase is wrong for the hours of competition. In fact, during practice, 2 anglers fished from daylight to 6 p.m. without catching a keeper. But in the next 20 minutes, fishing a roadbed they had previously fished without a strike, they caught a 7 bass stringer weighing 40 pounds. When these deep structure bass bite, they bite. And when they don't, forget it.
Oh, that's a keeper.
The fish are finicky, but some anglers, like Mississippi's Paul Elias, are catching their share. The problem is, they won't measure 16 inches. It's a cast and grind it out tournament.
Our leader from yesterday, you know the scoreboard, Tom Mann Jr. with 18 pounds and 1 ounce. He has a remarkable catch today to go resoundingly, probably back in the lead, and by no telling how much. Total of 4 bass out of the 7 bass limit, and they're all killers. Big bass. There's going to be a remarkable tipping of that scale. Drain the water carefully. Make sure it's drained. I want to make absolutely sure we don't have it. As long as it drips, are fine, but no streams. That's good. Now we weigh them. This is going to be putting you clearly in the lead. Watch the scales, folks. Our leader with 17 pounds, 12 ounces. Let's mark it. Give him a good hand. Listen, tell me this. What did you do? I've got to ask some of my folks in the television crowd, some of my bass fishing friends out there, would be curious of what you're doing that you can tell us here on the second day.
Ray, basically the same thing I did yesterday. I'm catching all my fish on one place, and it's just a drop.
What's a drop? Now tell us, the people out here don't always know what you said, drop. Translate the lingo for me quickly.
In other words, it's we're a flat. A flat is just real shallow water, comes out, and it drops off in a river channel. It's got about a 10-foot drop there. And there's some big stumps on it, and, you know.
On the drop-off? On
the drop-off, and I'm just working those stumps back and forth. It's a real small area, about 50 yards. Several boats saw me on it today, and they were, you know, they're real sportsmen. They're honoring my place, in other words, and I really do appreciate it. And, you know, there's a lot of boats out ahead of me today, and they could have gotten on it. And, you know, I really want to thank them for helping me on it.
Well, what I'd like to ask you, if I may, now you're out, if I understand this correctly, you're in about, your shallow bar comes out underwater and then drops off into about 10-foot deeper water?
Right. And
there's stumps on the drop-off?
Yes, sir. And the river channel bends right there, the main river channel.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, those old, when you get a bite there, you just put them in a live well. You don't have to measure them. Every bite I've got there has been, you know, well over a keeper bass. I've not caught a throwback, and I've not missed a strike yet. I've been real lucky.
Could I ask you one question? You could tell me no and wait till tomorrow, but can you tell me the basic lure you're using?
Stanley's 7/16 ounce black and brown jig.
About a ½ ounce jig, 7/16, brown and black Stanley jig.
That's it.
All right, folks, that's it. We'll know the truth in the full story tomorrow.
Grinding it out is one thing, but it's been a super long day for 1987 BASS Angler of the Year, Denny Brower.
Did you fish hard all day? I mean, you know, you've been out there since right after daylight.
No, we didn't go out to about 10 this morning. We ate breakfast a little late, and then we stopped for lunch. And, well, of course we fished hard. What are you talking about?
It's hard for me to imagine a man of your reputation and skills fishing in this much water and only catching one bass.
And always to be reckoned with.
All right, folks, watch the scale. Now, you got a man coming here from 6th place, Rick Klund, with 11 pounds and 10 ounces. He has 7 bass in the first limited bass we have ever had in this tournament. I told you to watch out for him. I knew he was coming in. Didn't have any idea what he had, but he is a man who is 3 times won of the Bassmasters Classic and a man who's famous for coming from behind. Tom Mann Jr. holds the lead with 18 pounds and 1 ounce. Through yesterday, another 17 pounds a day. Watch the scale. Here we go, Rick Klund. Watch it close, folks. This may be a record.
22.4.
22 pounds, 4 ounces. Let's give him a great hand, people. Putting him right square in the lead without question, unless I'm reading it right. He's still in the lead. My tabulation's coming off.
Man leads with 35-13.
35-13 for Mr. Mann.
33-14.
33-14, so there's about a pound and a half more or less behind you. My friend, you will make Tom Mann suffer like the dickens tonight.
But Ron Shearer's one angler who really has it figured out.
Well, Ray, I knew this morning in the Ranger because I didn't think that I went out and then about 14 foot did, and I didn't know because I come back with a cotton pick, and then I thought the blue was the right color, and I thought it didn't come in there about 2 o'clock. And I thought, you know, well, whether I get the line down okay, and then I just, boom, right.
I can imagine why. You went right on by, and then what happened?
Well, this big tree, you know, come out right, you know, when the sun was out and it was raining.
Had it happened to be just like that last
It'll
year.
take a minute or two to figure that one out. And then the Bassmasters will be right back.
Well, you know, it's just that close.
I know.
At the end of today's competition, there'll be one angler almost $40,000 richer. And he'll also receive the praise and recognition not only from the crowd at the weigh-in, but also from his fellow Bassmasters, because this Georgia Invitational is one tough tournament. In fact, when all's said and done and the stats are tallied today, they'll show that 100 of the 300 anglers competing here didn't catch a keeper's 16-inch bass in 3 days, and only one 7-bass daily limit will be caught in 3 days. Rick Klund's. Those statistics will also show that nearly 7,000 man-hours of angling resulted in only 505 legal bass caught during competition. That's more than 13 hours of fishing for each bass brought to the scales. That's hours and hours of nothing but casting. It takes a special kind of fisherman to handle this kind of frustration. Like Tom Mann, who's had just 9 bites in the first 2 days of fishing. And Rick Klund, who hasn't fared much better, but better than most.
Folks, if I may introduce the next man, Mr. Rick Klund of Texas. If you will notice the scoreboard, he's in 1 pound, 15 ounces off the lead. I reported that 2 hours ago he had 2 bass, and he comes in with 2 bass. Rick Klund, if you would, just let the fish hit the scale and watch closely.
5,
5 pounds and 2 ounces, which puts you clearly in the lead, and we'll wait to see what happens with currently the Tom man who has not come in yet. Rick, tell us a little bit about what happened. Something must have changed out there because you brought the only limit of 7 bass in yesterday.
Well, I don't know that it changed. I just stayed with the water I'd been fishing. I've been fishing one about 300 yards creek channel, and I just staying on the creek channel going back and forth. And I really just think I caught most of the fish there that were willing to hit, and I deliberated moving into some other areas, but I knew that if I did, I'd be moving in to other boats. The boats didn't really come in on me today, but they kind of kept me pinned in. They were everywhere. You know, I could fish my water, but I couldn't expand. So, which, you know, I got to give them credit. They didn't come in there on top of me. And it was kind of fun in the fog this morning, you know. I wanted to look over in the fog and say, that's Rick. Let's get out of here. So we were kind of bumping into each other. But finally, when the fog lifted, they gave me that little stretch in there. But the fish are on, you know, this is a typical pattern for this time of year. Every Bassmaster Classic, we used to have them in the fall in October. Every one of them we had, and there was 8 of them, was one on this pattern. And that's all you got to do is go in the backs of the major creeks and get on the creek channel. And there's always good concentrations of fish there. And that's all I did in practice. And every creek I went into, I caught fish off from. This just happened to have a few more.
You're back in the creek channels off of the main body of the lake and fishing. Tell us the bait and about how far back off the main water were you?
Well, the channel is usually a 7 to 12 foot on the banks, dropping into the channel with about a 5 foot drop into the channel. And I've been throwing a DB3 all 3 days. All my fish came on DB3.
All right, Rick. We'll sweat it out with you. You've got to sweat out our good friend Tom Mann Jr., who'll be coming in shortly.
This last day is even tougher as the weigh-in lines thin down, with more anglers than not coming in empty-handed. But this Bassmaster has bass in the bag. Are they enough?
3 pounds, 4 ounces to win. That's assuming no miracles occur elsewhere. He's got to have it. If he doesn't have it, he's out. If he's in, he's got $40,000 in credits to his plus a win. Tom Mann Jr. We'll take a look at the fish. They bolt alive. He only has 2 bass, as I reported to you earlier. And the fish go to the scales. Watch closely. Got to be better than 3 pounds.
14.
7 pounds and 14 ounces. Bingo. Hold those fish up here just a minute. Reach in if you don't mind and pull these 2 bass up, because these 2 bass are worth about $20,000 a piece. That's pretty close to the value, because without those 2, you'd be back here with the rest of us. Folks, that's a beautiful bass. I tell you, the West Point bass don't give up many, but they're awful pretty. One more time. Folks, that's $20,000 a fish if you want to count it that way. Now, no, sir, they're both largemouth. The weight, 714. Now, a quick commentary from you. I know you were sweating it because you knew Rick Clun was on a pattern bringing in 7 bass yesterday. You figured, I'm sure, you had to have at least 3 bass to be comfortable. What was it like today? Tell me what your feelings were and what happened.
Well, Ray, it was miserable. I'll tell you, I went out and through there and I made my first pass. I told you yesterday I was on about a 50-yard stretch of bank. Made my first pass. I got right to the very end of it to where what I call my turnaround point. Oh, I got a bite. Caught him, one of the fish, a small one. That made me feel pretty good. Going in today, I thought I had to have 4 bites to beat Rick, because, you know, Rick may be the best fisherman there is in the world. If he's not, he's certainly in the top 3. And, you know, for him to catch a limit yesterday, I would have bet almost anything. He would have at least brought in 4 fish today. And I got another bite about 10:30, and it was the other one, and I hadn't been bit since. And I told my partner out there, I said, the only way I'm going to win today, it just has to be a gift from God. So maybe that's what it was.
Tom Mann Jr. has just won his first BASS Invitational with 11 bass for 22 hours of angling. That's only 1 fish every 2 hours. That's tough.
5 logs, there's 2.
That's
1 more, you win, you win, you win.
And now it's time for the Pros Pointer, the how-to section of the Bassmasters, brought to you by AC Delco.
You know, I think boat positioning is one of the most important factors in bass fishing, because bass are usually around an object of some sort, and so as you approach a potential fish holding structure like this log, you need to look at it first and try to analyze where the fish is probably going to be. Either a log like this has several potential ambush points where the fish could be, and if you approach it, particularly on a log with limbs like this, if you get on the top side of the tree so that you're casting toward the base of the tree, you can retrieve, say, a spinnerbait just alongside the tree and get as many possible ambush points as possible covered with it. And so you try to bump the stump is one of the things I think is important with a spinnerbait or a crankbait, types of baits that we call reflex strike baits. You bump the stump and then stop to retrieve a little bit. That's what triggers that strike from a fish that may not be active, and you'll catch fish that you might not catch with a straight retrieve.
Tom Mann Jr., a super angler and a tremendous win, and I'm sure it won't be his last. Folks, next week's show is wild. We're going big bass fishing with wild shiners down at Lake Okeechobee in Florida. And joining those wild shiners are some wild anglers. Chet Dowdett, who is an ex-pro football player turned full-time fishing pro, and Fish Fishburne, who is a full-time bass pro that could turn to be a part-time comedian. It's going to be a fun time, and the bass are big. Join us for the Bassmasters. This is Ray Scott, and we'll see you next week.